properly. The highest standard of opening is what we were going for, and we've got Lord John Lee for you. Can we have a round of applause for Lord John Lee, please? Sir. Thank you.
It's nice to get a round of applause before you even start, I have to say. So, ladies and gentlemen, as patron of ShareSoc, it's my privilege and pleasure to formally welcome you to our inaugural investment summit. And a particular thanks, obviously, to our sponsors, to the organisers, Copia Events, to Peter Higgins, who you just heard from, and the ShareSoc team as well. And I hope you'll visit the ShareSoc stand at some stage during the day. And a thanks and welcome also to all our presenters. So many, you've just seen the faces up there. It really is an outstanding lineup, really from all corners of the UK investment world. Now, we meet at a very apposite time, with the government seeking ways to boost the UK market, with institutions and pension funds investing only a very small proportion of their funds in the UK market, and with so many fine UK companies being picked off, to use a phrase, at substantial premiums by private equity and trade buyers, particularly from the USA. Now, I'm in my 84th year, so one never knows how many years one's got lying ahead. And of course, you can't do the things at my stage and age that you did a few years ago. And I'm reminded of the joke of the woman who's married to the elderly Tory peer, and she says, "Should we go upstairs, dear, and make love?" And he says, "Well, I can do one or the other, but not both." Now, I've been investing for something like 70 years. Looking through my old investment ledgers, I think I pretty well owned almost every share in the UK market at one stage or another. I started when I was 16. I invested my modest £45 worth of savings in a company called Aviation Shipping, who owned one share. Unfortunately, the ship went down and my £45 went with it. But thankfully, things have improved a little bit over the years. I've had immense pleasure from investing in the stock market over the years. It's been a huge hobby for me. I like to think that I've been an evangelist for the private investor in my writings and speeches. And I believe that there are only two things that you need to be a successful investor: common sense and patience. And patience is by far the most important. I like the saying that's going around at the present time, that the stock market provides a platform for transferring wealth from the impatient to the patient. Now, I wanted this morning, I've only got 15 minutes or so, to share a few personal thoughts with you, my observations of investing over the years, and no doubt some of my comments will be a little bit controversial. But my main thrust today is to say that I believe that as a country we are stiflingly over-regulated. And I go back to David Young, Lord Young, in the 1980s in the government that I was a member of, who started out endeavouring to regulate the brewing industry with various beer orders. Well, all I could say is, one way or another now, if you look at the cost of a pint of beer, I don't think it's been hugely successful. So we've had interference over the years. We've got the Competition and Markets Authority now considering whether the merger between Greencore and Bacava, our two major sandwich manufacturers, is going to be against the public interest. Now, we need to build major companies in the UK that grow and then become great global businesses. And really, for an organisation to spend taxpayers' money deciding whether two sandwich makers coming together forms a monopoly, I think is really a little bit of a nonsense. And if there is a monopoly there, I wouldn't have thought it's beyond the wit of Pret-a-Manger and Marks & Spencer and similar to actually encourage a new young sandwich maker to start up. We look at our annual reports. Many of them, for major companies, are over 200 pages long. Is that really necessary? Just imagine the cost and the time that goes into that. And anti-money laundering requirements, in my judgment, are way over the top. You try and to open a bank account in this country, it's an absolute nightmare. And then the circulation of broker research notes and similar are absurdly restricted. So how is it that so many of our people in the country have no knowledge at all of the stock market and just, for whatever reason, keep cash in the bank? Huge amounts are just left there, earning next to no interest. And it surely should be worrying to governments of all persuasions, politicians of all persuasions, that there are more young people now who speculate, not invest, who speculate in cryptocurrency than invest through any traditional form of investment. I think we would all agree that financial education in this country has been and is abysmal. I had the idea that the government should use some of its NatWest shares to actually stimulate young people and educate in the world of investment. And I was backed by a number of senior Tory peers, Michael Forsyth, Norman Lamont, Kenneth Baker, David Howell, and we put the idea to Jeremy Hunt when he was then Chancellor that the government should donate as a gift £5,000 worth of NatWest shares to every state secondary school if they wanted those shares. And with 4,000 state secondary schools in the country, that would have cost the government about £20 million, which frankly, in governmental terms, is very small beer indeed. That £5,000 would have produced a dividend of about £350. And our idea was that the pupils themselves in those state secondary schools would decide how they spent that £350, whether on something for the school, to subsidise a school trip, or to buy more shares, or donate to a local charity. But it would be the young people's decision, the pupils' decision. Unfortunately, of course, as you can imagine, the Treasury were not keen, and then the election intervened. But I believe that had the government done something like that, it really would have been transformational, because it would have given young people in a very different way an awareness for the first time of what a bank is, what the stock market is, and what a dividend is. So, ladies and gentlemen, why is it that the UK stock market is so depressed, that our stocks are undervalued and there is a malaise in our markets? Where did we go wrong? Could we have done things differently? Now, I believe, and this may surprise you, I believe that television bears the prime responsibility for this, or to be more precise, the regulators who regulate television. If you think about it, television over the years, television's coverage of the stock market and investment opportunities is virtually zero. And television could have educated our public about the stock market, about investment, and brought into the home so many details of so many of our attractive shares and companies that they could invest in. But sadly, TV producers felt that the restrictions and regulations of Ofcom and the FCA and other regulatory bodies just made this totally impossible. And I argued this situation with city ministers, who frankly I found a big disappointment, but they just hid behind the dead hand of Treasury briefs and said that they didn't think that any changes in legislation or similar were necessary. I wanted government to actually call in the television chiefs and really discuss with them the possibility of putting together programmes. And you know, there are many great minds in television, not beyond their wit, to produce programmes that would actually bring the stock market and bring companies into people's homes. And I think it's a national tragedy that none of this ever happened. I mean, heaven forbid that a public company should be mentioned on television and people buy the shares and the shares go up. And wouldn't this be a national catastrophe? Anyway, there we are. And of course, now we're moving into the more complicated world of social media. And yet with television, the televisions are inundated with gambling advertisements and betting advertisements. And if you look at programs like Dragon's Den and similar, you see the public, and Harvey Jones in the old days, his troubleshooting program, demonstrates that there is a public interest for this. And I think it's a huge lost opportunity. Now, I'd just like to make two final points, because I only have a few minutes, and no doubt these will be controversial. Firstly, on ISAs. I have been investing in PEPs and obviously now ISAs since they came into being in 1987 under Nigel Lawson, so nearly 40 years. And of course, they are, as you all know, a wonderful tax-free wrapper, probably the best wrapper in the Western world. And many foreign friends of mine are envious of our ISA. But frankly, I see no reason why there shouldn't be some differential between the amount you can put into a cash ISA and the amount you can put into a stock and share ISA. And I see no reason why one shouldn't support the broad thrust of government to try and get more people to invest in the stock market. My other particular hobby horse with regard to ISAs is that I don't believe that overseas holdings should be allowed in ISAs, and I would allow a fair period for people to disinvest. If people want to invest overseas, that is absolutely fine. That is their prerogative. And obviously those who invested in America in recent years will have done extremely well. But why should we give tax relief? Why do we give tax relief to those actually who invest overseas? So I would restrict certainly all future ISA sales to investment, those who invest in the United Kingdom. And then I just wanted to touch, if I may, on non-executive directors. Now, I'm sure you all know the joke by now. I think I've probably told it many times about what is the difference between a supermarket trolley and a non-executive director. And the answer is that while the supermarket trolley's got a mind of its own, you can get more food into the non-executive director. Now, obviously, non-executive directors, you get good ones and you get less good ones. But my particular hobby horse is the, and I don't know whether, again, many of you have thought about this, is the pathetic shareholdings that so many non-executive directors have in the companies where they are on the board. Some of them say that, well, having no shares makes me more independent. Well, they're not there to be independent. We shareholders put them there to actually represent us and to push for the growth and prosperity of that business. And I believe that to see non-executive directors earning now pretty good salaries with next to no shareholding is really pretty disgraceful. And I believe that when a non-executive director is appointed, and I wouldn't make this statutory, but I believe that companies should make it clear to a non-executive joining the board that after, say, 2 years of them being on the board, they should have invested at least something like 25% of their annual salary in the shares of the companies that they're on the boards of. So those are my personal views and personal observations. Anyway, enough of me. I'm now delighted to hand over to Simon French, the head of research at Panmure Liberum, who's going to, and I quote, talk on the bull case for investing in the UK. Obviously, this is something very close to my own heart, as I only invest in UK shares. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to me, and do have a great conference. Thank you.